Paul McGuire Grimes, ABC Minneapolis. Kate, Josh, it is really great talking to both of you today. I really enjoyed your episode of Black Mirror. And Josh, you and I have some mutual friends, Colleen Lindstrom and Karis Sloss. Both say hello, so thank you for that.
Great. Say hi to Colleen and Karis for me.
I will do that. They were so excited that I was talking to Dan. I am
Yeah, yeah.
too.
Yeah,
Yeah, now, Josh, you're no stranger to the horror sci-fi genre. I have a deep love of Halloween H2O. So what keeps you coming back to this genre specifically?
I didn't think of this as a. I mean, of course, Black Mirror has horror elements, but I look at where Charlie came from originally, which is satire, and he sort of layers, I think, a heavy amount of darkness over that satire. But this is essentially there's comedy tones underneath all of this, in my opinion. This is a particularly bleak episode, though, so.
It's
It
very
was just,
bleak.
this is how the cookie crumbled. I didn't choose it. They chose me. So
Right.
you know,
That's a great answer. Now, Kate, are you someone that likes to know surprises up front? Describe reading the script, and or did you kind of let it all unravel as you were reading it?
Yeah, I that's my favorite thing is to know nothing about a script that's sent to me and yeah, to just dive right in. Yeah, it makes the experience so much more exciting. And yeah, I found it really heartbreaking and but also, you kind of expect any episode of Black Mirror to have surprises or twists or turns, and this definitely is no exception.
Oh, for sure. Kind of speaking of that, I love that these episodes always start in a very kind of real, grounded reality and then kind of shift from there. And I'm curious, Josh, does a show like this kind of make you think differently about technology, science, and maybe the dangers of that in your own life?
I think originally when I saw the first couple of episodes of the first series, it made me sort of I knew where he was headed with it, with the Black Mirror concept, and I was like, okay, I'm on board for this, and I love that he's holding up literally a mirror to that side of the world, the technology side of the world, and the way that we relate to it. But as it's gone on, I think what Charlie didn't want to do, and I'm not trying to speak for him, but he said this the other night. He didn't want to be like the guy who's the rip from the headlines. What's the newest technology that I can then invert and make into this dystopian future version of? He wants to he wants to tell different style stories, and I think that's what was so cool about this one, that he's gone retrofuturistic, and we're looking at what could have been sort of thing, and looking at it from a more optimistic time, and watching things unravel from that point of view. And I found it I found it more chilling, maybe because it was back then, and because there was no Manson murder scenario pre this. So these guys are living in a world where like a bunch of hippies in your house is just be like, leave. It's not that big a deal. And then clearly it doesn't go well. Sorry, rambling. I keep rambling.
Right. I got the wrap. I don't want to keep both of you. Thank you so much for the time today. I truly appreciate it, and congrats on being a part of this anthology.
Thank you.
Thanks, Paul.
Thank you. Take care, y'all.
Minneapolis in the summertime.
Yeah, thank you. It's great.
Yeah.
Paul McGuire Grimes, ABC Minneapolis. Annie, absolute honor getting to talk to you today. I loved your episode of Black Mirror. It's
Thank
so
you.
fascinating. So thank you for the time today.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, oh my God. Now I'm curious, when you got the script, did you know that it was tailor-made to you, or did that come after you were cast?
This was like all a shock to me. I got a call from my agent saying that I had an offer for Black Mirror. I didn't know what the part was. I didn't know what the plot was. I didn't know who was in it, but I was just like, yes, yes, like, yeah, like my wildest dreams have come true. And then I start reading the script, and my jaw's dropping and my jaw's dropping at every twist that happens. And then like, I genuinely thought I was being punked when I read that final twist, and I shut the script and like had to do a little pace around my apartment and like looking at my ceiling for cameras, because it felt so surreal.
Absolutely. I even told the Zazie and Danny Clara's room, like, you have to watch Andy's episode because it feels so real and like where things are going.
I know.
I'm curious to talk about collaborating with Salma Hayek, who is so great. Did you specifically collaborate on who Joan was going to be?
We did. We were lucky enough to have a few days of rehearsal before we started shooting. And so we got together. It was Selma, and it was myself and Kayla Laurette, who plays Source Joan, and Charlie Brooker. And Charlie was so good, like one of the best showrunners in the world, and he was so not precious about he like had his little laptop open, and we were, you know, firing ideas back and forth and had thoughts on character, and he was just so sweetly like noting things down, and he was so willing to collaborate. So it was a really beneficial experience, and the three of us ended up reading my therapy scene a few times, so we got to kind of observe everyone doing their Joan.
Yeah. Oh my God, that's great. And I love that he's open to that collaboration too, because some writers need it word
Precious
for word.
babies. Yeah.
Now, this episode, it dives into this world of like content creation just for the sake of content. Do you feel like the industry and how we watch entertainment is changing and going in that direction? And does that scare you at all?
I think there is so much content out there, but I think the really special ones still stand out, and they are still the ones that get talked about around the water cooler. The thing that does scare me is the terrifyingly rapid advances in AI. That's what really scares me. But we'll save that for another day, perhaps, shall we?
Oh my God. I'm curious, when you get projects sent to you, speaking of projects that stick around, how often are you concerned about veering away from Alexis Rose and Schitt's Creek?
All the time. I had the best, like I loved playing Alexis so much, and it was the best 6 years. But I think when I was finished with that, I needed to prove to myself more than anyone else that I could do something other than like this all the time. So this was such a cool opportunity to play like dark and dramatic, but still keep that humor about it. It was I couldn't have asked for a better part.
Absolutely. I got the rap, and it's great talking to you. Schitt's Creek is a show that touches the soul. It moves me so much. I'm so grateful that it exists for so many of us out there in the community. So thank you.
That means a lot. Thank you so much.
Yeah, you're welcome. Take care. And stay
Paul
good. McGuire Grimes, ABC, Minneapolis. Zazie, Danny, Clara, it is really great talking to you. I really enjoyed your episode of Black Mirror, so thank you for the time today.
Thank you.
Zazie, I want to talk with you. I want to ask you first. Now, this takes place in kind of the mid 2000s. Do you feel like the world of paparazzi and their really desperate attempt for scandals either gotten worse or better since then?
I think it's gotten better. And I think there are multiple reasons. I think that the general sort of cultural morality has shifted, where people, I think, are not supportive of like unsolicited photos of children and demanding people's privacy. I think overall that culture has shifted. But then also I think social media has gotten rid of the novelty of the candid celeb, because we get them all the time now, and they can provide what information they want to provide. And, you know, seeing, I don't know, Adam Sandler buying chips isn't as crazy and unbelievable of a shot to get, anymore, because also anyone can just pick up their iPhone and do it. We all have cameras in our pockets. And he's posting pictures of himself doing that anyway. So I think it's different, but I do think that we are a lot more obsessed with image and curation and the presentation of ourselves in the world, because we are in some ways also watched more. And I say we universally, not just as celebrity, but as, you know, everybody can be recorded at all times. And so I think we have more of that dysfunction going on now than we used to.
For sure. And going off that, Danny, I want to ask you, coming off the huge success of Top Gun Maverick, which I loved, did you feel like you had to reevaluate your own presence, whether online or publicly, knowing that there are cameras and microphones around all of us at all times these days?
Not really. I think that that's always been there, especially since I started acting. It's been it's the realization that is part of it, and so I'm not necessarily someone that gets papped all the time or that is under any type of like I don't know. There's no like $10,000 reward for a photo of me ever. There's just like there's plentiful of them. So I think it when I found out I was doing the episode, I was about to do the red carpet for the London premiere.
Mhm.
And so I found out like 30 seconds before that we're going to do it. And so the moment that I stepped out onto the red carpet, I think it was more so the first thought was like, is it not judging and humanizing my character and why? Like, I mean, seeing across someone, even though that they're looking through the lens at you, you're still seeing a human being that has every reason to be standing there and their own specific reason as to why they're this is their profession. So I don't think it's necessarily shifted anything. It's made me more aware, and actually, I think it if anything, it did humanize the paparazzi even more.
Yeah.
Through like the research of documentaries we watched, and also through experiencing like some of the scenes we shot before, like one of the opening scenes. It was just like there was such a human, like there's a dopamine rush when trying to get the photo that I was like, this is so human. No wonder people. It's like sports. It's like
Right.
you're hunting for a photo, and of course it becomes addictive, and you get paid at the end of the day too. So you get to pay your rent, and you're in a little bit of a chase. I don't know. It made sense.
Right. Interesting perspective. That's interesting. Claire, I read that you're a big fan of Black Mirror before you even getting cast in this. What is it about the world that Charlie Brooker has created that really draws you in?
I think ultimately it's a show that after watching any episode, you are invited to have discussions and to just open up your mind a little bit, and it feels like a wake-up call every single time you've watched an episode, and it's truthful. You know, there's truth in that, and it's harsh truths, and it's really harrowing to look at a lot of the time, but I think that's so important in society.
I love that each episode really starts kind of in a very grounded, truthful reality and then just shifts slightly. Annie Murphy's episode is fascinating. I don't know if you guys have watched it yet, but it's really great. Yeah, it's really good. Zazie, I want to go to you. Are you someone that when you're reading a script likes to know either the surprise or the mystery up front, or do you like to reveal it as you're reading your script?
Oh my gosh, I love to have it revealed as I'm reading it. You know, it's a story, and that is what is fun. It's so fun to read scripts. I mean, a good script, because you're like, oh my gosh, there's so much you could do with this. And like, the more you go in, you know, obviously like reading a book is exciting, but you're like, it starts and ends there with just your imagination. But then when you're reading a script and it's exciting, you're like, oh, there's so much to build on this. So I love, discovering the story to a degree, I guess, how any audience member would discover it as well. It's so fun.
Awesome. I love it. I got the wrap. It was great talking to all three of you. Thank you so much for the time.
Thank you.
I truly appreciate it. Thank you.